Today I'm talking about reflections of a decade of partnership between Hormel Foods and Blue, which actually began with Shock and SDS. And we'll talk about how we got started, actually not how I got started, back up just a little bit. I'm not supposed to be here today. You're supposed to be addressed by Jackie Brennan, who's actually my manager, but she had a big conflict. So I'm going to try to channel a little bit of her. For those of you that know her, hopefully you'll recognize some of her parts of the presentation. So we'll talk about how we got started, and Jackie started this, and the progression to where we are today. So that's our, actually image of our login page that we have. It's a painting that was done by a local St. Paul or Minneapolis, I don't know, Twin Cities artist. And we use it on everything now because it's so fantastic. A really good exercise in brand equity. So the way we were, so this is where we cue Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. I'm not going to sing. Jackie suggested I should make a good impression. So back in the day, when the dinosaurs ruled, stuff just sort of fell into the packaging department. Jackie said, we definitely need a process for this. This is not fun. And there was no time to really track the metrics or anything like that. We just needed to stop getting crushed by the rocks and the things thrown over the wall. So the blue envelope was born. And I think that's an interesting connection, and that's why I capitalized it in the presentation, because it's a blue envelope, right? This was kind of the beginning of our process, and was a sort of a predictor of things to come. It was actually one of many different series of different colored envelopes that different things were routed throughout the company for approvals or invoices or that sort of thing that needed to be approved, and blue just happened to be available, so that's what she picked. The blue envelope is actually a centralized source to collect all the data for any one project. So, you might have 15 blue envelopes on your desk based on how many projects you have going. The envelopes identified the key stakeholders in the project so that you could identify, if you had questions, who that you could go talk to, define the timing, and actually ended up positioning the packaging department of the owners of the data collection process and responsible for moving that along. I think that's a little bit different than many companies, but it sounds a little bit similar, but we actually do all that within the system, having documents uploaded, having custom field data populated. So this was the blue envelope was the beginning of a strong analog process that included also color-coded so that people would recognize and be able to find in their big stacks of white paperwork, 20 years ago on their desk. The change order was yellow, and the keyline routing all routings were pink, so you had the keyline and the color routings, and then you had your approvals were either green, and then the final one, the release of the final artwork, was orange. And this presented the information to people in that consistent and systematic way. Also, information included on here, in addition to team members and timing, was what the change was, or if it was something new that was coming through, and included also coding for versions. Why, with this wonderful analog system, would you want to change? Well, there was a need for more accountability, the one direction linear workflow. Churn is not productive. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean that you're doing something that is moving anything along or that's useful. You might just be spinning over and over again. Again, all the presentations so far today, I keep saying, oh, I could have used that element. That would have been great, all the little circles. Gave also an opportunity for web-based, because we could have internal and external partners, so separators and printers, be able to have access to the reviews and looking at artwork. And people can access it anytime and now on any platform, which is fabulous. I love telling people, oh, what do you mean you couldn't do your task? Well, didn't you have your phone? Just pull it up on your phone and do your task, do your reviews, and they can do that. There was also the need for concurrency, so that you didn't have, this envelopes traveling or job bags or whatever it is from desk to desk. Make it really difficult. People can't do things at the same time. And then you have vacations and it sits on somebody's desk, their assistant forgets to look at it, whatever happens. And we just needed to speed that process up. Also, we needed to defend against end-of-chain scapegoatism, which I'm pretty sure is not a word, but we've never really used the metrics in the system or the KPIs to point fingers or throw people under the bus or whatever. What we try to do is use it as a tool and provide, information to the other teams to say, look, this is, your part of the process that you own, your information, and this is where we're at, and this is the deadlines, and just help them determine what they can do in their areas to try to facilitate change so that they can actually get things done to us on time so that we can keep the schedules on track. And we actually have used reporting. We just sort of send people weekly reports now or monthly, whatever they've asked for, is basically how we've used that. And whoops, I guess I'm still there. Basically, it was also a way to stop losing the blue envelope, because when you just have a blue envelope, it just, gets, somehow slipped into the recycling bin or whatever, and didn't always, and then you had to recreate everything. It's kind of a mess. So some of the key learnings about developing the blue system were to have that firm analog process in place to determine what your process is. Jackie had the advantage of 20 years of that analog process that she had developed that was working, and so they knew the steps, they knew the people, they knew what that process was. So it was just a matter of translating that into blue and implementing it electronically. One of the main things you need to do is just to identify your objectives and do that map, and how is it going to operate when you're actually running it. Outside sources of help, extremely beneficial. The Shock Six Sigma team and can provide a lot of help thinking things through, give you unbiased opinions, industry benchmarking, and people like Christine Barnes, who says, you are in analysis paralysis, you just need to go. And stop trying to overanalyze the system and think of every possibility. Don't get hung up on the little stuff, and there's so many similarities that we can just make it work and make adjustments later on. So another thing that Jackie had learned was that computers and applications aren't a magic wand. There's no packaging fairy that's going to swoop down and go, bing, everything's right, And one of our very intelligent IT people said that machines and software will not fix your process problems. You have to know what your process is and what you want it to do, and then the application helps you do that better. So this is one of our favorite graphics, and this is one of the main things that you have to think about when you're defining your process. Because of the complexity of packages, all these data points are color-coded to match the teams below. So you have regulatory that's in charge of all their various different things, marketing operations. Printing sort of refers to a variety of different, mostly external partners, but also our project managers. And so you need to know your data sources, the people at the bottom, who are they, and on the package, what are they responsible, what is the content that they are expert at. So Blue has the ability to manage this complex set of data in a really systematic way. Some of the key learnings about implementation and long-term management is you definitely have to have a dedicated process manager or process owner and the resources behind that in order to make this happen. If you're getting data from multiple places, dropped on your head or thrown over the wall, without someone who is able to distill that information, you sort of end up with a system with inaccurate data, not because people aren't sending you what they think is the right thing, but people inherently want to do a good job and send you the right stuff. But there are so many components, like on that slide, that need to come together that it's hard for people to realize how their piece fits into the whole. So you need that ability to look at the whole and have someone to help distill that information in the context of the whole package before you even send it out for review once, or have it made into something that can be reviewed. Owners who understand all the pieces are really beneficial, like was mentioned, both creative and technical knowledge and abilities, and then the ability and to keep it on track and the discipline to keep a project moving on schedule and to help other people do that as well. So Dirty data and incomplete processes are worse than what your current chaos is, and my personal favorite saying is a clean database is a happy database. The way we are now. We actually had started talking to SDS prior to Blue about parts, and Jackie likes to have fun at work. So the URL was going to be called Pig Parts, because it's Hormel Foods, right? We have pork. But then they changed parts to blue, so that kind of took that fun away. And so then Jackie said, well, then we'll name our application just PIGS, which stood for Packaging Integrated Global Source. It's a perfect acronym. The first live packaging project went into PIGS in August of 2007. And it's really funny, when I first started working there, everybody's talking about, I'm going to put that in pigs. And I'm like, but aren't we supposed to be taking the stuff out of the pigs and putting it in something else? It's odd. Those things happen. But anyway, initially only a couple divisions were involved in the projects, and the implementation was kind of staggered throughout other divisions. We have 3 workflows, and only one of those was started at a time, just to kind of get people to ease into it, get used to it, kind of work the bugs out, that sort of thing. So our cute names and stuff are fun with the pig parts and the pigs, and one of Jackie's things that she really likes to say that I'm going to try to quote her properly is, where else can you have so much fun and get paid for it? At work. So as far as the name goes, it's now CP3X, as I mentioned, and that's kind of a long story. We needed something that was a little bit more relevant to the company, since we acquired Skippy and we have subsidiaries that don't have anything to do with pork or pigs, and originally it was just an application for keeping track of our department's projects, so we could have a little bit more fun with it, but we decided we needed to be a little more serious. The application's becoming more of a enterprise solution, so we came up with CP3X, which doesn't really stand for anything, but we'll talk about that later on the last slide. So we have 3 primary workflows, and which are the package deployment project for primary packaging, including corrugated. A lot of the food service, corrugated is their primary package. The government approval projects and the secondary corrugated deployment projects. We have 5 divisions. Grocery products, meat products, food service, international, and specialty are the divisions. We found that there was more consistencies than differences across all the divisions, so they can all share those same primary workflows, even though we print on every substrate that you can put food in using every print process and derivative thereof. Jackie is a packaging engineering background, and so she knows all about all different types of processes and substrates. The process itself is the same, no matter what the product is, or the plant or the vision, or the substrate, or the printing, and the system allows us enough room for flexibility to meet the special circumstances that are needed by all the different divisions and all the different materials that we're working with and products. Keeping all of the work in the same workflows, all of the different divisions and everything, helps to better manage the process itself, and also allows for efficient site management. So we have the 3 primary workflows that I talked about. We have the package deployment project, and what that does is, creates a package scan. The government approval project creates a government approval file, and the corrugated deployment project creates a print miniature. And the packaging components with regulatory information and the government approval project are tied together by another one of the terms that Jackie coined, the Fab 5, which are the 5 main things that tie together the key regulatory information with a version or a unique identifier on the package, like a serial number kind of. And those assets basically come from the project now. So our packaging deployment project is kind of like a baby bill of materials. We don't claim to do that, but we try to keep information together so that people can understand, get a whole picture of the product when they're reviewing a label. So even if a component of the packaging is not changing. It's included in our project as a sub-process. So we've got the main project, and then we've got what we call the primary unit, or the kind of the consumer unit, or the saleable item, and then all the different components of packaging that would be associated with that are put in. And we have a 14-page document that our department uses, our department being the people who are managing and entering the projects, that define the versioning and how the components should be entered in projects in order to keep track of that. We also use a digital asset library in addition to the workflows. As I mentioned, each of the workflows creates an asset, and so those are all stored in the digital asset library, as long as other files, brand marks, die lines, pre-press files, design and development files, department documents. Looking to do a lot more training documents. Was excited to see that help thing where we can customize. That's going to be really fun. Why did we upgrade? One of the main reasons was to reduce duplicate data entry. So when you have the, in our version, our 3 version, the project can push the asset to the digital asset library and bring all the custom field data with it, so you're not entering information on the project and the asset at different times when you're less likely to do it the same, or you might have miskeyed data, or you missed a digit when you copied and pasted. We can send so that's part of sending the data more accurately, but also it allows for more fields to be populated without any additional data entry. So if we only had those 5 that we had to worry about, that's not so bad. I can enter 5 things, not a big deal. But if now you want 20, that's going to be a lot more time consuming. So that automatic data push from the project to the asset was really beneficial. Also, we got increased transparency in project timing. The baseline, actual, and forecast was very helpful. We used to, where it says less adjusting, we used to always manipulate the schedule throughout the process so that external partners in particular would know like a real due date. It's like, okay, I just got my task and it was due like a month ago. Seriously, what do you want me to do with that? Now I don't know where I'm really supposed to do something with. So it gives them a little bit more information now, clear picture, so that they have an idea of what we really need them to do. That really affected our KPI data, so that's another reason we haven't really used metrics much. The other benefit was to customize the information that people see on their task, to limit what they don't need for their area of expertise. For our future thoughts on that, we have subsidiaries that are potentially looking at implementing it, and there are more consistencies and differences, so their implementations hopefully will be easier based on our experience that we've had already. It's easy to add other file types, and we've added, our legal department has a claims review where they review coupons and web content, Facebook, stuff like that, recipes, in a review process also, which is actually a 4th workflow, but not directly related to packaging. Also, then this is Jackie here, so she's like, global domination, from the packaging department, because, it's becoming more and more apparent the package is a single source of truth. If that's something that you're gonna print and produce and send out to the marketplace, that better be right. And so taking the data back off of that makes a lot of sense. And also it can drive the other initiatives that need clean data. We could potentially interface with other customer company systems using Blue Connect, and the way the digital world is evolving, good data is definitely an asset. So I mentioned that the name was a little complicated. We had some interns a couple years ago in 2014 who asked what it stood for. And we told them to make something up, so this is what they made up. And we couldn't pick. So we decided it just could stand for lots of things. So one of my favorites is crazy people, chubby picnic, and cute pork. They were a lot of fun. But it really is, kind of all these things: consistent process, complete projects, all that sort of stuff. So I appreciate everyone's time today, and I appreciate being able to sub in for Jackie and everything here. Thank you.